You got spare game codes or any digital goods? There is a place you can sell them in less than 1 minute. Watch. Go to g2a.com. Click Start Selling. Fast login. Go to My Account and click on Selling tab. Sell new item. Enter name, code, set a price. And done. G2A.com Digital Marketplace. Global selling simplified.
Now, welcome back, guys, to Group D of the StarLadder League here. We have today Firebat, Thijs, Forsen, and the open qualified player RENMEN. Now, we have Forsen against RENMEN up first. But I guess to recap a bit about last night, there we had Life Coach dominate in a 6-0 fashion, and Amaz take the second place. But we look at the matchups here for Group D, it's going to be Forsen versus RENMEN as the first match, then Firebat versus Thijs. So exciting groups. We're going to have a lot of Warlocks. Actually, only one Warrior, which I find interesting. But every single player has Warlock, and there's also 3 Mages.
Yeah, these lineups are looking very interesting today. A lack of Patron Warrior by the looks of it. Only Thijs bringing the Warrior class, but there's no guarantee that will be Patron. However, I think the most interesting lineup for me so far is Forsen's lineup. Very interesting lineup with Mage, Shaman, and Warlock. So looking a bit anti-Druid there. We'll have to see what type of Shaman it ends up being. And Firebat running his kind of traditional Mage rogue, and he usually chucks something else in there. And he's chose Warlock this time. Always a big fan of Zoo, kind of mid-range Warlock. So yeah, RENMEN's kind of the wild card of the tournament today. He's a qualifying player. There's not really much known about him. The only information I could really find was he hit rank 1 legend with Midhunter in April, and that's when Midhunter wasn't that strong at the time. So there's not much going on with RENMEN in terms of information, but perhaps today he can show us what he's made of.
Yeah, we had yesterday 3 out of the 4 players picking Druid. RENMEN now is the only player to pick Druid, and we saw yesterday Druid generally not do that well. It was often the class that lost all 3, especially we saw Boar Control really just follow the tournament due to Druid. Now, look at this first matchup here. We have Druid, Mage, and Warlock against Forsen with Mage, Warlock, and Shaman. Now, I think to note is that Shaman is excellent against Druid, and Forsen really likes these aggressive Mages and aggressive Warlocks. So I would think he's probably bringing the mid Warlock and possibly some version of either Mech or Playmaker. So I think he's likely to be really strong against this Druid lineup here.
Yeah, perhaps Forsen saw the large amount of Druids in yesterday's game, so he figured Druids become quite popular in Conquest now. A lot of pro players are just trying it out, so he's brought perhaps this anti-Druid lineup because Tempo Mage is very strong against Druid. Zoo and Midlock, depending on which kind of variant he goes, is very strong against Druid, and Shaman, of course, traditionally has always been really strong. And looking at his first matchup here, RENMEN does have that Druid, so maybe his lineup might be able to stomp that Druid if it doesn't get a win on the board.
If you look at, I guess, weaknesses for Forsen, the Shaman kind of strikes me as a small weakness. As if you face Druid, it's decent, but you don't have that Hex for that huge tempo swing. And if you don't draw well, you can kind of fizzle, because sometimes it's 5-drop, then nothing, then 7-drop, because there's not a lot of... I think there's no 6-drop usually in Max Shaman. And when he faces stuff like Zoo usually just has a stronger starting lineup in terms of that turn 1, turn 3, turn 4. The only, I guess, saving grace is the Power Mage, which often gets 2 or even 3 for 1 in terms of tempo. So I feel like if Forsen doesn't get a win with the Shaman against the Druid, he may be in some trouble here.
Yeah, but the thing with Shaman, I find, I play a lot of Mech Shaman myself if he's taking that deck. The Fel Reaver, unless that Druid has a big game hunter to deal with it, it can be a big struggle for the Druid to deal with it. And with such an early board presence from all the mechs, it's much like it's the traditional problem Druid has, mid-range Druid, with not being able to deal with a very fast start. But like you said, if the Shaman falls short on the Druid, because of course it's not one of the power classes right now, it could be the downfall of this lineup. But we'll just have to see. But it looks like they're going into the first game here, both picking Mage. I'm not certain who's who just yet, but we do see a Freeze Mage at the top, and at the bottom I think we saw a Tempo Mage.
I think it's more likely that Forsen is the aggressive mage, I've got to say. But this matchup is generally really draw-based. Not as much about what the Freeze Mage draws, it's more about what the aggressive mage draws. Now, the Freeze Mage has the coin, and it's quite crucial for the Freeze Mage to have the coin, not, I guess, to use it by himself, but also it's more about, I guess, denying the coin from the Flamemaker. It's not only extra 2 damage, you often can get, you know, an extra spell out there and ramp up that burst here. We have Mana Worm coming down turn 1 here, looks like for Forsen. The power ideal. It's a very scary minion, but without the coin, I mean, it's not nearly as scary. So I think I kind of like, you know, possibly this Frostbolt here.
Yeah, he can just clean up this minion right now. Forsen didn't have a turn 2 play, he just pinged with his hero power. But also RENMEN's actually going to go for the card draw here. He does have a turn 2 Acolyte and a turn 3 Arcane Intellect, so he does have potential a lot of card draw. But I do think I agree with you there. I just like the Frostbolt, clear at the minion, and start to slow down this Tempo Mage as fast as possible.
It seemed to be the only option for Forsen. I mean, as he had the second Frostbolt in hand, which generally isn't going to be much use. I think to note though is the possibility of a secret for Forsen, because he will be running it's almost confirmed that he's running 2 mirror entities, and the mirror entity is usually quite bad to have for Forsen, as you can just drop that Doomsayer in and get a free board clear in that case. So we should be looking at him not using the secrets at all if he tends to draw them. But a thing to note is that this might possibly be looking like an Echo Mage from Forsen's point of view. Could get a little bit scary. I hope he doesn't start playing around Molten Giant, etc. Yeah,
Echo's Mage has picked up a bit of popularity recently. Stan Sifka had a list going around Go-To Gamers recently, had a bit of a spotlight. And I tried it out, I did like it, but I think I just prefer Freeze Mage overall. In those 2 style of decks, the end game is very different, how you win condition, but I just kind of like Freeze Mage, just throw everything at you. And this Forest Hunt actually is going to be a major play for RENMEN when he gets him down, because he has a lot of spells in his hands, Fireballs, Pyroblast, even a Flame Strike, be able to clear that board if he needs to. What do you think? Do you think Forsen's figured it out yet?
I think once he sees the secret, that should be it, probably. But it looks like RENMEN is going to go for this Ice Block, and I generally don't agree with that. I mean, he doesn't have a Blizzard upcoming, he doesn't have a Frost Nova, so how many swings is the Yeti going to get off? I mean, even when he gets the Flame Strike, it's not going to kill the Yeti, so I would have definitely liked to see the Fireball there instead. I mean,
you could have Frostbolted the Worm and pinged the Yeti to set it up for the Flame Strike because he had 4 mana. But yeah, I think the Ice Block is a very passive play when Forsen is starting to establish board here, and you want to just keep him at bay. Ice Block doesn't keep him at bay. It just makes you invulnerable at one time. But that time's not going to come for a while yet. So you kind of want to play your Ice Blocks if you can when you're about to get to that point where you need it. Right then he had more options, but it looks like he's actually going to opt for the Frostbolt here on the Yeti. So it looks like he's setting up for the Flame Strike later. I'm not sure what he's doing here.
The thing is, you know, turn 4, if he's not going to deal with the Yeti turn 4, is he really going to wait until turn 7 to deal with the Yeti? And at so many turns, so much damage, and even as he is now at 18 health, you know, 1 Fireball and you threatening lethal easily, so it's a big deal, I think. And I mean, now Forsen is just dominating versus, let's think about the other scenario. If the Yeti was dead, he could have pinged the Ice Drake after the Frostbolt, potentially been at like maybe 21 damage or something like that. He also threw away the Doomguard, which the Doomsayer, which seemed weak as he didn't have a Frost Nova and there was also no secret up. But
And now he's just drawn Frostmover as well, so it is a bit wasteful for him to throw away that Doomsayer. But I do agree with you. He was very greedy with his Firebolts and his Frostbolts quite early on, and it's cost him a lot of damage so far.
I mean, in general, you don't lose by wasting your burn as a Priest Mage. You lose if things get out of control and you die before turn 10. When it gets to turn 10, you can usually just, clear the board and set up for lethal slowly. You don't need to be saving every single spell. As I mean, he's bound to draw at least maybe Pyroblast or Iceland or something to give him that lethal.
So Forsen here is probably feeling that a board clear is going to come next turn. I mean, a Flame Strike would be very obvious on this turn, so he's got to kind of decide what he wants to do here. I mean, Yeti will survive, but the problem is the Acolyte of Pain will do that extra 1 damage to make Yeti go down. So, and like you said, the Mirror Entity is a very strange card that interacts with Freeze Mage because the Doomsayers is such a threat. So, do you think he just goes all in here? Is this what you would do?
I don't like the all-in. I mean, he didn't see a single Blizzard. If there was a Blizzard or a Flame Strike, this is just, which it actually happens to be the case, this is just devastating. I mean, let's say now, after the Flame Strike, what does Forsen really have to fall back on? A Fireball that's not going to be enough for lethal without a second one? A Mirror Entity that he can't use because of the threat of the second Doomsayer? It's just weak overall here, and yeah, I don't know about this. I mean, let's say he kept the Yeti in hand, he would have had a lot of options to refill the board there.
Yeah, it was a very greedy play, playing that Yeti, knowing that turn 7 is that turn for the Flame Strike, and the Mirror Entity is going to come out from the Scientist here, so it gives RENMEN an opportunity to make this Mirror Entity get less value. He has that Loot Hoarder in hand, and then he has the Emperor Force on the follow-up if he wants, which will start reducing all that burst in his hand. So it's looking I was about to say it's looking pretty bleak, and then Dr. Boom comes off the top.
The Finicky Cloak will also be crucial as it will set up for the lethal. Without the Dr. Boom, it was looking quite rough for Forsen in general. I feel like, sometimes you have to get a bit greedy. But the thing is, in this case, it was necessary, I felt. Let's say that, RENMEN was at 30 health, things would be looking a lot worse for Forsen in general, and he would need all the damage, and he would need to rely on RENMEN not having the AoE, but as he was at only 14, he doesn't need 6 minions attacking to pop that Ice Block, he only needs like 2 or 3 with the follow-up Fireball, so that's why I didn't feel it was needed, but I see no scenario where he isn't casting Blizzard at this point.
So he gives him Scientist. He's got a decent Blizzard here. If this bomb clears out the Scientist, he'll get that ice barrier, and it might protect him for a little bit longer. And it keeps this makes that Finicky Cloak feel a bit less effective because it didn't really have anything to. The Dr. Boom would be frozen, so he wouldn't be able to attack next turn. Right now, RENMEN's looking pretty good, I think. Looking pretty safe. He's going to be having this ice barrier pop if the bombs do take out the Scientist, but they don't. He stays around on 1 health.
It's looking interesting. There's no Alex or Healbot for RENMEN, which will be a crucial card coming to this late game here, as Forsen is looking at some point at least. Oh, the Silence! What a top deck! Oh my god! Can you ask for more, really? Like, Unstable Portal into Silence for that 7 damage.
Wow. Yeah, I guess, and it's a good Silence card as well. It could have been an Owl, which could be easily pinged. It's actually got a bit of a body to it as well, being a 2/4. So
the thing is, though, he wants to pop the Ice Block with 1 left as the hero power should come into play. He's probably expecting RENMEN to just be able to clear the board immediately after, so it's just for that 7 burst, but 7 burst for 3 mana is not bad at all.
Oh, the Mirror Entity goes down. And a bit of slowdown on the stream here for me.
Yeah, now we have double Fireball, we have a Cloak Field, we have the Thorazon, but it looks to be the case that he will just need to start start wasting fireballs at this point. He looks to be dropping a loot hoarder, but I don't see a scenario where he isn't going to be fireballing that. Dr. Boom. But I mean, he can, I guess, get by not killing the keeper, as he will proc an ice barrier, which Forsen generally doesn't want to be attacking into, as it just gives RENMEN extra health. So interesting scenario. I think I'd give a slight edge to RENMEN though, because of the way that the health. If he was at 6 health or 7 health, it would be looking way better for Forsen, But as he's at 5 health, it plays around the ice block quite well. The idea is someone doesn't freeze mage mirrors. You actually ping yourself. Let's say you're at 11 health, you'd rather ping yourself to play around Pyroblast. Because with the ice block, you remain with 10 mana if you get Pyroblasted with ice block alive.
Yeah, I can see that, because like I said, it makes the spell awkward because it doesn't take them down to 1. And he actually gets the Forsen down now. It's Finicky Cloakfield, so it gives him some burst options next turn. And he has the ice block in hand already, so he can already recharge his ice block next turn if it does get popped, and start dealing some damage himself.
No, I think it's too greedy again to go for the Emperor. I think it basically nullifies the ice barrier, as I believe now he can attack in first. But if he attacks in, it's at 13. Yeah, attack with the Dr. Boom, then. No, it still doesn't work out well. I think he should start attacking with the Keeper, then Dr. Boom attack, then ping, then Fireball. It will leave him at what? A few health. Not going to be at 1, it looks like.
I mean, he's still got. This Fireball's going to be 4 mana, so he's still got the options of playing some more creatures himself. And if.
Oh, wait. So Dr. Boom in first, then Fireball, then ping. I think that was the play there. Dr. Boom, then Fireball, then ping. That puts him down to 1.
Without popping the block?
With popping the block, yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, Dr. Boom, then a Fireball, then the Keeper. You can even ping the... yeah. It might come in really handy, as I mean, I don't envision RENMEN allowing Forsen to attack once again with a minion, so it'll come down to last. We used 2 Frostbolts, right, and 1 Fireball, so there's only 1 Fireball left. Is 1 Flamewinker left though, and that could definitely be damaged, possibly even Arcane Missiles, but... But in any case, if he had put it down to 1 health, he could just ping the Ice Block away next turn, and the Ice Barrier would do nothing. So I think Forsen may possibly have played himself out of this game.
This Frost Nova will keep him at bay for maybe a turn. He'll need to draw, say, another Fireball, or maybe a Frostball ping to pop this block if he does decide to go with it. And he'll still have free mana for the Fireball. He can Ice Barrier again if he wants, but...
I like Iceland on the Dr. Boom here with a ping.
Oh yeah, so to take him out?
I mean, he's used 1 Frostball already, so there's only 1 Frostball to really... He can go for face? I mean, he's not close enough yet to that, like...
No, he's still a long way off, and he still needs to clear this taunt as well before Hearthstone can actually start dealing damage himself. And with Fireball on the Pyro, he's got 16. He still needs to draw another Frostbolt to be able to do something. It's looking a very fast stretch for him and win this game at the moment without drawing the right stuff.
I think how the Flamewinker damage will hit will probably determine a lot in this game. If he goes 2 to face, he's only got a few turns left, but I mean, with RENMEN, maybe if he went Ice Lance on the taunt, that would have been better, I guess, setting up for the idea of being able to attack with the Thorus next turn.
Although it's 0 mana this turn coming up, so he still has that option available to him. And he can actually Pyro Fireball as well. So that's 16, so yeah, but he can do 21 next turn. But
the thing is though that the mirror image won't be frozen though on this following turn, so the Ice Lance won't do any damage. Yeah, so that's why I was suggesting that he would have used it last turn. Alexstrasza is the draw he needed though, but he hasn't been dealing with the... Let's think about the scenario if he had already Ice Lanced the I guess the Doctor Boom can now just clear, but with Alexstrasza it leaves him up for lethal next turn now. Looks like Forsen is really distraught about this Alexstrasza setting up for lethal next turn. I mean, other than a Kazan Mystic, which isn't run generally in this deck, I think this is just looking impossible for Forsen here.
I'm surprised Forsen left with 4 mana in his hand. Would you have gone for the Whirling Blades again to see if he would have popped the block? Was it worth just taking the risk?
I mean, he wasn't 4 health, so even with ping, he couldn't technically pop the block. So I guess Forsen figured if RENMEN has a full board here, I'm gonna lose anyway, so I'd rather just set it up for a better Flamewaker turn next turn. I think it's probably what he's thinking. Yeah.
The Flamewaker did 2 damage to him from the Time Rewinder because he pinged his own Clockwork Gnome, and he still has the Whirling Blades, so he still had enough damage. He had a chance to pop the block if he saved his ping.
It's possible, yeah, but think about the idea if he had attacked. So let's say before he had 5 health left, got 8 from the Ice Barrier. He goes 7, 6, and then 2, and puts him down to 1 health. He could have pinged him on the following turn, popping the Ice Block a second time, and in that case there would be no room for an offensive Alexstrasza.
Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. So he does pop the block, but it's not going to be enough, unfortunately. A very close game for Forsen there. Just a little bit out of reach. And throwing a 7 mana Pyroblast. Was it 8 mana back in the day? Was Pyroblast 8 mana?
It was obscene. Like you had this crazy aggressive Mage deck with Leper Gnomes, Mana Worms, you know, and a lot of aggressive minions, and the idea was, okay, you only need to deal like 10 damage in the early game just by going to face and throwing away your minions, and in the mid game you just throw 1 fireball to face or something, and then you'll need to take them down to maybe 10, 15, 20 even sometimes, because you could just go pyro. So it became about, you know, 3 or 4 damage in the early game, back and forward was the game. Over by turn 3 or 4 there. Now, looking at this scenario though, Mage out of the way from RENMEN, it was always going to be quite tough for Forsen to deal with that. I mean, Freeze Mage is excellent against Su, for example. The Shaman is good against it though, but it's not nearly as bad as if RENMEN had one with the Druid. So Forsen is still definitely in this one. But RENMEN looking a bit shaky. I don't agree with this Freeze Mage play, I've got to say that.
Well, he managed to get the win, which is all that matters, I guess, at the end of the day. It was, like I said, there's some shaky decisions, but it did work out in his favour in the end. Now he needs to. Now he's got a Warlock and a Druid. We don't know what Warlock this is, because it could be anything. It could be Handlock, it could be
Malilock even, yeah.
Malilock. There's so much. I think that's the strength as Warlock as a pick right now in Conquest, because it's very hard to predict what it's going to be unless you know the player.
Now this looks to be. It could be actually anything. The Flame Tongue Totem is a big wild card in this matchup, as it's generally played in mid Shaman, but some people mix it into max Shaman. But I think this should be the most important game of the series, as if RENMEN loses to the Shaman, he will have a much harder time against the Flamemaker Mage and the mid Warlock. So the Innovate is in hand. Power Mace, again, could be either or, but with the Mech Corp, that basically seals the deal here.
Yeah, the Neutron tells us what type of Shaman he's going for, and like you said, the Flame Tongue Totem is kind of a flavor pick, I would say, in Mech Shaman. Some people run it, some people don't, and that's kind of why we got a bit confused on the mulligan. And Power Mace is still a decent card in Mid Shaman itself, but it shines much brighter in the Mech Shaman build, and this is pretty good for Forsen, having the turn to Mech Warper a Neutron with a coin if he decides to go for that.
Generally, in the mid Shaman, I guess you play maybe 1 or 2 Neutrons defensively. I mean, they're quite good against Hunter, for example. Then you maybe substitute one of the higher health and higher mana cost minions for a Paladin Sky Golem. You do not feathers either way, but now I have to really commend Forsen on going for saving the coin and going for the Mech Corp and the Neutron at the same time. It's a decent play, I'd have to say. I really like his the way he did that, I mean, if you just draw the Mech Warper, you're not going to get any value from him. You need to get the value immediately. The same thing with Emperor Thorsan and Flamemaker. You generally don't expect it to survive more than a turn.
The thing is, I find against some classes you just can't play Mech Warper turn 2 like that, especially if you've got a Neutron, because a class like Druid can just wrap it, and it's just such a waste, whereas a class like Paladin can't really do anything to it unless it has some early board presence. So against Paladin you could have perhaps gone for a Mech Warper with a coin, but it's much more stronger to get that value out with the Mech Warper and Neutron. If he had, say, like a Whirling Zapper or something in his hand as well to play 2 mechs, it would have been better.
So the main idea here from Forsen is to play around swipe from RENMEN. He doesn't draw the Mech Warper in that case, because, I mean, in terms of the 4-drop with Druid, there's Keeper, which wouldn't be great here, that RENMEN does have. There's Swipe, which would have been good if you dropped the Mech Warper, and then there's Paldisvetter. So I have to like that play. It's bit of back and forth in this case, but I mean, if RENMEN ends up attacking it, I think it would be a mistake in this case. Forcing me to drop the Paldisvetter and get a lot of value, and Power Mace plus Rockbiter is an excellent combo. Also can be comboed well with Fire Elemental, as the general health total is either 5 or 6 for Druid.
And the thing is, if he had attacked with his Shade, it would have just been cleared up by this Mace, and Shade is one of those cards that can build up enough to contest, say, a Fel Reaver or something if he's still running that style of Mech Shaman. But going for the Shredder here seems... He's got to decide here, does he attack with his Mace and buff this Annoyatron, or does he play a Shredder and a hit and hope it goes on the Shredder? It depends on what he wants to do here. But he seems he's just going for a Totem and a Mech Warper, and one of the things Druid does struggle with after a while is like an onslaught of totems, because their removal isn't hard removal, it's very damage based.
Yeah, I'm not sure about these plays here. He's playing this a bit passively for my liking.
I mean, it is an aggro deck at the end of the day. You do want to take the initiative, but he's would you prefer the Shredder there personally?
I think so. I think I will also probably save the weapon. The idea of killing a Druid with a claw with a weapon seems decent. Obviously Forsen has more experience with this deck than me, but now it comes to Keeper and Hero Power. Quite devastating. A Fel Reaver also in the hand. Now Rockbiter and Paldisvetter, not too bad here for Forsen. He does end up taking some damage with his face, but with this Mech Shaman, if you fall behind on the board once, you generally lose, so you don't really care about your own health total at this point. So the 4 damage for him is nothing.
Yeah, I agree there. If the board is so important, and the reason Mech Shaman is so successful with the board is because as you go from 4 drops onwards, 4, 5, 6, your minions are just so big that it's very hard for some decks to deal with. So you got 5 Fel Reaver, 6 Elemental, 7 Boom, 8 Rag even sometimes if they're running Rag. And yeah, if he loses board at some point, Druid might have an opportunity to come back here. He goes for the Fire Elemental here. It's just a clean kill on this Keeper. He won't be able to deal with the Forsen, unfortunately, and he'll get another turn to reduce his hand. But the fortunate thing for Forsen here is RENMEN doesn't actually have a lot in his hand right now, so he isn't getting a huge amount of value from it. Whereas sometimes Druids have so many cards in their hand, and you reduce like the cost of 6 to 7 cards, and that's when Forsen really shines.
Now I think his idea is to save the Rockbiter for potential Doomhammer and go for the burst. It's starting to look better and better for RENMEN, but it's also starting to, you know, go out of control a bit. I think he'll have to bank on attacking into the Paldisvetter and then the minion spawning with 2 health or less, so he can clear with a swipe. But yeah, I would have liked him to have attacked first in this case. Oh, and a Doomsayer! Wow, sad day here for probably more so Forsen. I mean, RENMEN will get his charge off. Forsen does get to drop a minion.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate for Forsen. I mean, even if it was someone with 2 health, he could lead it with the swipe. At least a swipe would have been used, and that would be a swipe he wouldn't have to worry about later. But now he just gets a Forsen, like you said, and he gets a full board clear.
Yeah, but what does Forsen now, RENMEN now have to deal with this Fall River? I mean, SLTV isn't the best option really. Swipe isn't enough. I mean, let's say that he top decks another Rock Biter or possibly a Fire Elemental or something. He's gonna take 8 to the face now. Lothep is coming out, looks like, in the shade as well, alright.
I mean, RENMEN's looking okay. I mean, Snaris wasn't too bad. It's lucky for him that Forsen can only really clear just the 2 taunts right now. And Harrison Jones in RENMEN's hand, very powerful card against Shaman, especially if they're running Doomhammer, which most of them do, and being able to draw 8 to 6 cards from Doomhammer, and that takes a lot of damage away from the Shaman as well. So he gets kind of a lackluster turn there, Forsen, having to run his Fall Reaver into a 2/2. And looking at RENMEN's hand, he's a bit spell locked from this Lothep, but he does have.
He's getting close to lead actually, yeah. Like.
Yeah, he's not far away.
That's 10, 19, 21, it's 24, right? Am I off? Oh, it's a 7 mana Savage, I see. That's the problem there. Yeah, he'll just have to play passively, it seems, but I feel like he is ahead now for sure in this game. Maybe even to taunt up. He just wants to start with that. I'd throw out the Harrison as well if I was him.
You drop the Harrison right now?
I think so. For the board presence, you can't be just hero powering.
Yeah, I think so as well. I mean, if he draws into Doomhammer or plays Doomhammer, it's unfortunate, but you still have that 5/4 on the board, and you have Savage Draw Swipe next turn, which could potentially set up lethal if your board managed to sustain. So yeah, I think it's correct to play Harrison here, like you said, just put more power on the board to set up, especially if he draws a Force of Nature as well. So that's he doesn't do anything. Did he not hero power?
I don't think so. I think he missed out on that. Maybe a bit nervous here in this match, but I mean, he's in complete control in this game. Forsen just doesn't have enough. He would have needed the Doomhammer, or maybe a Silence would have been made it close.
And then again, I don't see a lot of Mech Shamans running Silence. I've never personally run it myself, and it's something I've played quite extensively. Is you just kind of rely on raw damage to punch through anything that's dropped, like Crackles, to deal a lot of damage. It's very random, but it has a potential, very high potential to kill a lot of minions. But it just looks like Forsen here is just going to have to develop more board and start clearing out some of this stuff.
Yeah, he's in a desperate position, and I don't blame him in this case. Now he's looking at killing scenarios. I think that's probably going to be the reason. I mean, he doesn't have a lot of burst in hand, so he needs every minion to stay alive if possible. Is he dropping the Flame Tongue as well? I think that's probably not a good idea. So clears the scenarios and is ahead on board. Gets the Flame Tongue out as well. Okay, maybe he's looking at possibly buffing that up. Now a second swipe. The God draw here from RENMEN here. Wow. I think he just started attacking in, I guess, into the SLTV with the Shade even. This is getting a bit close though. Wait, so it's 8, 17 damage in total. I think you do clear though. You should check what's coming from the SLTV first. But if he gets a full board clear, that's probably going to be the game.
Yeah, I mean, Forsen's got nothing in hand. He's going to be top decking. So we see it, and he's losing cards as well to this. Oh wow.
No, never lucky, right? Hashtag esports. On that, wow. Literally the best minion that could have come out. Not only gets a full clear, but also keeps his own shade alive.
So Forsen's had a Doomsayer and an Explosive Sheep in this game, right? Oh, was the Doomsayer in the no, the Doomsayer was this game, right?
It was this game, yeah.
Oh wow, that's probably a chain of unlucky shredders. I haven't seen that many unlucky shredders in one game in a long time.
I don't think so. It's usually maybe one in a best of 5. You get maybe Warlock with Show or Doomsayer or Explosive Sheep, but you know, both at the same time is just too much now.
So this is the match we were talking about.
Yeah, I mean, it would be interesting to see how many cards are left. It looks like 4 or 5 maybe left in Forsen's deck, and those will have to be a lot of value now. Ancient of Lore coming down. I would even considered healing with Ancient of Lore there.
Yeah, if you heal, you can't win. 100%, I would say. Hasn't got enough in his deck.
Also, the idea, I guess, to play aggressive and try to finish out this game. So you kind of force him to finish loud and then start playing passively when he has no cards left. Dr. Boom comes out. It's a start, but probably not enough.
Problem is, Forsen's on fatigue now, so he only has. He's on a clock anyway from drawing damage, and he's on a clock from any damage that he gets dealt to him through RENMEN. So RENMEN will only need to deal like a set amount of damage, and he can guarantee the winner. I think this might almost be it actually. Is that double-sided draw?
Looks to be the case. So RENMEN up 2-0. Forsen not getting the draw he needs overall here. RENMEN, even though he's been a bit shaky, he's 2-0 up, and getting that Druid win is crucial, like we were talking about. Be interesting to see what type of Warlock he has left. I think you need to have a handlock for Forsen to have a chance this series, as if it's the midlock, that should be decent against the Shaman. Forsen probably has more experience than Mirror, and then you have the Flamemaker, which is hard. So, but I figure at least winning one of these games is definitely doable for RENMEN. So, for his sake, he should hope that he's not bringing handlock here.
Yeah, it's tough for Forsen right now. I think that was the game that he needed to win the most. The first game was unfortunate for him, but it wasn't devastating. It didn't cripple his entire game plan. But right now, losing to that Druid with a Shaman as well, which we were saying was kind of the wild card of his lineup, which could potentially fail him, and it has, unfortunately, here. So now he's got to deal with this Warlock, and like I said, if it's not handlock, it's going to be such a struggle. Because mid-range and Warlock only needs one good draw out of 3 games now to win, and it can just snowball out of control so easily.
Even just a quite mediocre draw against the Shaman should be enough, as you know, you have the Void Caller, for example, being a huge tempo piece. You have Implosion being a huge tempo piece. You have the 1-drop demons, Flamemaker, Flame Imp, and Voidwalker. Whereas the Shaman only really has maybe some tempo through the Mech Orb and some tempo through the Power Mace, but it's just more tempo in the Zoo here, and we do the coin out immediately. That's not looking too good here for Forsen. He's getting the best matchup though against the mid Warlock out of the 3 to start with, so he should know all of the cards, but his hand is horrible against that sort of deck.
Yeah, at least he has a 3-2 to challenge this Haunted Creeper. It's going to need something extra to take it out, but the thing with mid Warlock, it has Abusive, Direwolf, Out Overwhelm, and Argus. There's so many things that just deal with it. He opts for the Unstable Portal here and gets a 3-4, so it was better than his Sorcerer's Apprentice there, but it was a bit lucky because Unstable Portal can grab you anything, so...
Yeah, the Sorcerer's Apprentice is usually not played on its own. It's mostly played for the ability, so you'd need another minion or another spell to go with that now. But things looking so rough. I mean, we don't really see RENMEN hand, but yeah, we see, okay, Void Caller, Implosion, Defender Arcus. It's decent against Mage. Yeah,
that Implosion's just not so bad for Mage. He's got options to deal with it if he gets the Flamewaker, but he definitely needs it to be able to hold off this Implosion, because it's the only card that has any kind of AoE removal for them.
At least the Mad Scientist is higher value than any 2-drop from the Warlock, so that's an important card, but you know, this is just looking so bleak. The thing is, Flamewaker with coin and Flamewaker without coin is just night and day. You need the coin so badly in terms of also having more low-cost spells to combo and get that turn off 1 turn earlier, and more damage and more damage for the Mana Worm as well. But now, I mean, just the secret, RENMEN has the perfect hand to deal with this. I think he's probably attack first though. He's looking at
Yeah, it's another issue as well. He, like you said, he didn't get any kind of tempo advantage from his Sorcerer's Apprentice so far. He didn't draw a Frostbolt either, so that's a good card, like turn 3 Sorcerer's Apprentice Frostbolt to deal with a minion. But another thing is that RENMEN hasn't really given him a board that is easy to remove right now. He's got like Creeper, he's got the Egg. Both of those cards are just going to be really awkward for Forsen to deal with unless he draws the right stuff, and he's just not drawing anything good right now. He just had a really wasted mirror entity there.
Yeah, he was kind of banking on that being his way back into his game now. At least has a decent turn here. Maybe hoping that the Sorcerer's Apprentice will remain alive and he can get a Flamemaker in that case. But now, Fireball, Dr. Boom, both. I mean, 2 Fireballs, it's the last card you want. You maybe need to go aggressive in this game. As we saw Gara do against Amazon, that worked out beautifully, but Power Overwhelming, another strong card. I think with Defender of Arcus, it's going to have to be the play. Looking at Implosion, Implosion is a bit weaker, especially against the Flamemaker, which he should suspect to be coming out soon. Also doesn't work very well with the Voidwalker, so I think I would have preferred the Defender there.
Yeah, if Defender forces Forsen to deal with the Egg and the Spider straight off the bat, right now he can ignore them. And if he decides to go with like more aggressive game plan like you suggested, playing the Implosion here plays a lot in Forsen's favour. Oh, so he actually pops his own Spider here, just creating loads of tokens for Forsen to deal with. But if he draws the Flame, I mean, even if he drew the Flame Waker now, it just wouldn't be very good because he hasn't got a spell to go with it. Alright. Oh, wow. Okay.
Mal'Ganis, wow.
That makes sense.
I see no reason to pop the Spectral Hunt the Creeper there. I mean, maybe he's banking on some dive play, but even though I still think it's looking like Defender's going to be the... Okay, since he has the Mal'Ganis, the Void Caller seems to be the obvious choice, but against Mal'Ganis, though, we do see Forsen with the possibility of Hero Power Fireball against that Mal'Ganis, so maybe this is going to give him another way to use these Fireballs, except being aggressive with them. Maybe he'll need to just go all out, though.
We got 2 Mal'Ganises potentially coming on the board at some point. One from a Mage as well. That's always that's what makes it Unstable Portal such an interesting card for me. It's just changes the game dynamic so drastically sometimes. I mean, Mal'Ganis is not a huge game changer, I don't think, because Warlocks do have generally ways to deal with it, with like the power overwhelmers and stuff. But in some matches, it can just make the game just so strange, and pros really have to think on their feet and adapt to these cards that wouldn't usually be on board.
Yeah, now in this scenario, thankfully for RENMEN, he has a way to deal with his Mal'Ganis, but if he didn't, it would be looking scary. I mean, think about one extra mirror image with this. The game would be totally different now. I think Power Overwhelming has to come down. Possibly even the idea of throwing your own Void Caller out there, maybe?
Could you do it in a way that he doesn't get Void? Yeah, so if you could play Void Caller, Power Overwhelming, run his Void Caller into the Mal'Ganis, get his own Mal'Ganis then. But
it's possible, yeah.
But he does leave his Mal'Ganis very vulnerable to Fireball.
Popping the Egg is stronger though. I wonder what the follow-up is going to be. Does drop the Void Caller because he's going to go for that Mal'Ganis. It's a more aggressive play from RENMEN. I think I do agree with this. Be interesting to see what type of value we get out of Sylvanas. We saw Mars running that yesterday and it did decent amount of work there. Now, thinking about what to attack, I thought that'd be obvious conclusion here. So we do see the other Mal'Ganis coming down here from RENMEN.
So we're gonna most certainly see a Fireball here, I expect.
I think so. Now, the Secret becomes somewhat weaker due to the Void Caller being on the board. As you know, if you get a minion onto the board with a Void Caller, it doesn't really work the same way. You don't proc the mirror entity in that case. So Forsen is making a good call on just heading into it and figuring that there's nothing coming out now. RENMEN is still just one tempo ahead, and also with a better hero power in this case.
Yeah, he's got the answers. He's got the ways. He's made Mirror Entity just poor value for Forsen in both both cases here. I mean, you can give him Abusive Sergeant, give him a Direwolf Alpha, something he can deal with quite easily. With this 1/1, it's just really unfortunate for Forsen. He's not found a way to utilize these Mirror Entities that well this game. I expect we'll see an Argus here, maybe an Abusive Sergeant as well.
I drop the Abusive, yeah. I mean, you're probably gonna you start going to face even, you know. I taunt up the Abusive as well. I mean, he can go tap Sylvanas quite comfortably next turn. Dr. Boom will be a nice addition to help Forsen get back into it, or if you're looking at Mad Scientist and Thorson, it's still just not enough. He's still just going to be one step behind unless RENMEN starts throwing horribly these next few turns.
The problem is with that though, RENMEN already has a Sylvanas in his hand, so he already has a very good high value minion in his hand. So unless the Sylvanas gets dealt with fairly easily and then he starts drawing bad, RENMEN's just really far ahead here, which is what Midlock does. He's fought for board. He's given Forsen some really bad Mirror Entity targets, so he hasn't found any value through that. And now he's got board, he's in a comfortable position where his hero power is better and he can just keep drawing stuff until he eventually wins.
Now this is ideal for the Sylvanas, but I have to like Forsen's idea of going for the more aggressive approach in this game. He wouldn't get much out of the Emperor anyway, so going for Dr. Boom is a nice touch. And RENMEN going aggressive on his own, he figures, okay, there's one fireball already gone, so I can just start playing aggressively myself.
Yeah, he seems to go for that. Just put on the pressure with the damage here. Sylvanas kind of protects his board a little bit here. If he gets it's very hard for him to deal with this right now, especially with a 6/5 taunt sitting there. And a Doctor. I mean, if he runs a Dr. Boom into the taunt, he could fireball ping the Sylvanas, and then he still has boom bots to kill the Dr. Boom if it steals it. But it's just weak. It just seems kind of lackluster, really.
He'll have to drop the Clockwork and then fireball the Sylvanas after trading into the Nerubian here. He's gonna have to go for RNG. There's no way he can silence it or get around it in any case, yes. Drop the Clockwork Gnome and then go with the likely scenario. We see Nico just throw away the bombs. I mean, maybe he figures he can just as well ping the Dr. Boom. But it has to be the fireball, right?
Yeah, I can't see anything else come down here. So he does. Yeah, he's done it this way so he can guarantee the ping. But I still am horror with Forsen then. Wow, this rope's going down.
Yeah, apparently he's valuing the fireball higher than I am in this case.
That's interesting. Okay.
Because I mean, now he just guarantees that the Mad Scientist will be stolen.
Oh, a Knife Juggler. Okay. So.
I think you don't start juggling until after you've used the Sylvanas though. Perhaps he doesn't even want to use the Sylvanas. If the juggles go really well, I mean, he could technically avoid that scenario entirely.
But you can just play more. You can just play on the offensive here still. You could run the 2/1 into the Dr. Boom if it doesn't get hit by a knife now, and then just hit face for 5 with Sylvanas. He's still got a really good board. And he could potentially have lethal next turn if Forsen doesn't have a way to deal with everything. And he's still drawing 2 cards a turn, so it might be just better to just be super aggressive here.
The thing is, he's threatening lethal both with Forsen at 10 health and at 5 health, so that's not a big deal to be honest, but yeah. It's looking so bleak for Forsen anyway that it doesn't seem to matter in this case. But there's possibilities of a comeback here, I guess. Let's look at the idea of attacking into the Juggler, into Sylvanas, ping, can drop Thorson, and have a secret up. Only at 3 health.
Yeah, so he could put the Scientist into the Juggler, the gnome into Sylvanas ping. Sylvanas gets nothing, and then you can drop something himself, like maybe a Drake. 50 more cards.
I would have gone for the safer player of just the Forsen, but since he got the Drake, that's going to turn out better overall. But maybe you might even think of going for the Mechanical Yeti. Wouldn't mind that.
Yeah, it's got a bit more health. It'll stick to the board a little better, but I guess that with the Drake though, he gets the draw, and he finally draws a Flamemaker. Gone turn 10 is turned up a little bit late here. Flamemaker's that card that kind of helps you keep board with its ability taking out minions left, right, and center. But he didn't have that opportunity this game because he never drew it. Oh, Argus is a good draw there, and a Knife Juggler. He's just drawing everything he needs here.
Yeah, I'm not sure what he's thinking about. I think the question is just the name of the game here. You have to go for the defender and face. Put him down to what, 5 health. You have the silence to possibly get rid of one of the taunts from the mirror images there. It's unlikely they'll come down, but even in case you have a second way to play around that.
Oh, both juggles hit face there. He might just go for the owl. Just try and finish off this Azure Drake.
This is just unnecessary in my opinion, but I mean he's looking to win anyway.
So Forsen is on the verge of losing here. 3-0. Not 4-0, but 3-0.
Sadly, I mean he's been playing decently. I really, agree with almost all of his choices in game 2 and game 3. He looked a bit shaky in game 1, but overall, I think he's been playing better this series, as crazy as that sounds, even though he's down. I think I like more of his choices than RENMEN's in general this series. Now, he has the option to try to get really lucky, but it's just going to be too little too late. Almost.
Yeah, he's just rolling the dice here, just hoping something comes out of this, but like I said, it's too late. It's the midlock has gained so much control of board, and he's got loads of health left as well. I don't think there's any way Forsen can really come back here. Okay, more.
No, yeah, that's gonna about do it here, sadly. So Forsen going out 0-3. He's not out of the tournament yet, but RENMEN is gonna be moving up to the winners match to face the winner of Firebat and Ties, which is gonna be our next match. So dominating performance by RENMEN. I have to say again, the crucial one was the Druid game, which he did end up winning. But now looking at Forsen, he plays the loser of Ties and Firebat. He'll need to win 2 games in a row, whereas RENMEN only needs to win the next game to be through in this group here. So interesting to see how this will unfold.
So last time I actually cast StarLadder with you was Group B, and we had a Russian qualifier there, Lostov, who actually went on to win that with a very strong performance. And here we have another Russian player showing what he's made of, taking out Forsen 3-0. So maybe history will repeat itself, and the Russian qualifiers are looking to play here. They're taking this very seriously and trying to get through. So we'll be back as soon as possible with Firebat versus Taj, and we will. This is StarLadder, and we'll see you soon.
You got spare game codes or any digital goods? There is a place you can sell them in less than 1 minute. Watch. Go to G2A.com. Click Start Selling. Fast login. Go to My Account and click on Selling tab. Sell new item. Enter name, code, set a price. And done. G2A.com Digital Marketplace. Global selling simplified.